guys, welcome to another Beyonce reaction. I'm starting to listen to the Dissect podcast for Black is King. It's long. I think there's 7 episodes, and they're either an hour or an hour and a half each. The last one is 2.5 hours, so it's a lot. So I'm not gonna edit these. I'm literally just gonna post them as I watch them. So if you're interested in hearing the podcast, you can either listen to it directly on Spotify or you can watch these. But I wanted to post them last time. A lot of people like to watch with me. And I also really love the discussion that comes from the Dissect podcast because last time I learned so much about Black history. It was unbelievable. And knowing that Black is King, that short little film, has 7 episodes that are that long is so wild. It's wild that she creates something that has that much meaning behind it. So I'm sure this is going to create good conversations again. I'm going to listen to an episode of the Dissect podcast and then react and then listen to an album again and rank them so that I'm kind of going back and forth between the two. So it's not just Dissect podcast for a while. So as soon as I finish this, I'm going to watch Black is King again so that I understand all the meaning behind everything as I watch it. All right, Black is King part 1. This one does not have visual.
There's something missing in the cover art for Beyonce's 2020 film Black is King. It's a film starring Beyonce, a film written, directed, and produced by Beyonce, a film full of Beyonce's songs. And yet, on its cover, Beyonce, one of the biggest stars on the planet, is nowhere to be found.
I didn't even notice or think about that. I remember though I don't know if it was the behind the scenes, something that I saw where she was talking about it. She wanted to make it for everyone else and it wasn't about her. So I would assume that that's why. I need something to take notes.
Instead, we see a small boy floating in the vastness of outer space. He's suspended between planet Earth and a full moon.
Okay, I have to go look at the cover. I loved that the Lemonade one had like the visual guide with it. I wish this one did too. I'm going to search it, just make sure it's not.
The stars ablaze behind him. Like every shot, symbol, lyric, dance, and ensemble in Black is King, this cover image has a deeper meaning. And according to co-director Kwesi Forjor, it's one that gets to the core message of the film.
Black is King simply represents this idea that we are all royalty because we are childs of God. As a culture, everyone around us tries to place boundaries on us, but then we also place boundaries on ourselves. And sometimes it takes us being able to look beyond. Beyonce was adamant about really going beyond the earth, to really be able to look at the stars and really kind of mingle with your ancestors there and allow them to meet you where you are.
Beyonce isn't on the cover of Black is King because Black is King isn't about Beyonce. It's about all of us, living and dead, ancestors and descendants. It's about reconnecting with the great kings and queens of the past, about recovering the history neglected by the history books, and reclaiming the crown stolen from us and passing it down to the next generation, realizing we're all a part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
You got my blood in you, and you're gonna run.
Something really cool that has come for me from this Beyonce journey is that I am not Black. I can't relate on the same level that Black people would be able to like ancestors and the history and like how much that means to everyone. But as a white person, I don't connect to my ancestors at all. I don't think about them. It's so strange how white people, it's like we don't learn from the people before us. Like, I'm sure a lot of people do, but in my experience and the things that I've seen, like, a good example is like the Black shower TikTok, like why is that a Black woman mostly thing where they're taking care of their bodies and they learn how to do it, and all of the white people are just learning this, including myself. I never had like a dry brush to scrub my body. I never had like the African nut sponge in the shower and I have like an exfoliating one now, and I have the normal soap, and then I have one that's scented, and then I get out and I do the oil and the lotion and the powder. I never did any of that. No one ever taught me anything. Like, I think back on my life, I don't remember specifically being taught anything. I was never taught the correct way to clean. I was never taught how to do my makeup. My mom asked me a few years ago, like, how did you learn how to do your makeup? Because I never taught you. I don't know. I figured it out. YouTube wasn't a thing back then. I don't remember being taught anything. So going on this journey has made it so that things seem bigger to me. Things seem more important. Like I think about the ancestors of like what Black history ancestors have gone through and done, and how that's played such a huge part of how Black people experience their lives today. And it just makes me feel part of something bigger. It's not just me in this life living day by day. Like there are bigger things that matter. I connect in a deeper way to people and to different cultures and to all of these things. It's really just opened my eyes in a way that as white people, I don't know if it's just that I don't know why. I don't know why we are how we are, but I don't like that. And this has made me connect in such a deep level. I love it. So anyway, I'm really excited for this Dissect podcast because I know how much I got out of the lemonade one, and I know I'm gonna get a lot from this one. I didn't even get ready. I'm not wearing a bra. I put on a sweatshirt. My hair's not done. I have no makeup on, but I just wanted to sit and relax and listen to this. So, okay, that's all. That's my spiel.
You're part of something way bigger. You're part of something way bigger.
I'm Titi Shodia.
And I'm Cole Kushner. We're following up our season-long analysis of Beyonce's visual album Lemonade with a special 7-episode mini-series on Black is King. Through scene-by-scene analysis and original interviews with some of the project's key contributors, we're going to follow Beyonce as she plays a spirit guide, helping a young boy navigate his life's journey on Earth.
To tell this story, Beyonce and her creative team use a unique combination of
I didn't get that she was a spirit guide. When I watched it, I didn't try to understand the meaning because I knew I was going to go through this and watch it again. I was really focused on the beauty of it, of the visual, of how everything looked. So I didn't try to figure out all of the meaning behind it, but I didn't get that. That's so cool.
Visual symbols, ensembles, sets, and allusions to the Lion King film, creating an unprecedented storytelling medium Beyonce dubbed Sonic Cinema.
And at the heart of this sonic cinema is the music. Through an exquisite and diverse selection of sounds, Beyonce and a curation of African artists and producers help propel the narrative with music that interacts directly with the visuals. Songs like Find Your Way Back speak directly to the story's protagonist, encouraging him to connect with his ancestors through the celestial sky.
Find your way back. Big, big world, but you got it, baby. Find your way back. Don't let this life drive you crazy. Find your way back.
Meanwhile, songs like Already remind the boy of the kingship inside him, pushing him to take his proper seat upon the throne.
Long live the king, you know it. King already, you know it.
Oh, I love this album. I can't wait to listen to it again.
Everything, you know it. King already, you know it.
Finally, the film concludes with a call to action as Beyonce encourages us to take the lessons from Black is King and put them to use in real life, to create a movement and join her celebration of Black culture, her Black Parade.
Here I come on my toes, follow my parade.
From Dogon Mask to Do-Rags,
From Moses to Mansa Musa,
from Bee's Backyard to Johannesburg,
and from life, death, and the spiritual spaces in between, Black is King traverses freely across time, space, and cultures to highlight their connection and showcase a greater unified Black lineage. Through this grand celebration of the motherland, Beyonce demonstrates the profound connection that we all have to each other in this great circle of life on planet Earth. And so with that,
and without further ado, let's dissect. Our analysis of Black is King begins at its end, with the long rolling credits that conclude the film. Among this impressive list of the film's thousands of talented contributors, there are a few significant lines of text that go by so quickly, they're really
Thousands of contributors is crazy. That's a lot.
easy to miss. They come in the thank you section and are written by Beyonce herself. Quote, To the Black diaspora across every continent, thank you for creating, upholding, and driving culture against insurmountable odds. You inspire the world, honoring all who have been a part of this journey and those we have lost along the way. Unquote.
While Beyonce's message is a timeless dedication to the Black diaspora, her words resonated deeper in light of the events that surrounded Black is King.
I don't know what diaspora is. Let me look this up. Okay, the Black diaspora, also known as the African diaspora, refers to the global dispersion of people of African descent, primarily resulting from the transatlantic why can't I say that word? From the transatlantic slave trade and subsequent migrations. It encompasses communities and cultures that have developed outside Africa, shaped by the experiences of slavery, colonism, and racism. The term highlights both the historical and ongoing connections between people of African descent around the world. Wow. Okay.
Its release in the summer of 2020. The murders of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd reopened the deep wounds of racism in America, sparking record-setting protests and leaving much of the nation angry, disheartened, and hopeless in its ability to truly dismantle the country's racist foundation.
Beyonce.
When it talks about those, so sad, those boys, men who have been killed or like all of those things that have happened, I did talk about them specifically in the Lemonade Dissect podcast. So if you haven't watched that, I would recommend it if you are curious to see, like, from a white perspective, learning about all of these things and what my experiences have been, because I've seen all of those things, but not to the significance of what the Dissect podcast showed me. I really did learn a lot. So if you're interested in seeing someone go through that journey of like learning about Black history, that one I really talked about a lot. I feel like in this one I'm not going to have as much to talk about because Lemonade went so deep in everything. I feel like this is going to be more of the visuals. But I don't know. Maybe there is a ton that it'll talk about, but I'm not just like ignoring the fact that he just mentioned those names. They are very significant. That time period was significant. It was powerful. I talked a lot about it. I will say that was kind of the turning point for me where I started to realize that I had been living with Black privilege and seeing like what other people experienced, because that became so big and it was in my face and I was able to see what other people go through. In Utah, there's not a lot of Black people. So there's not a lot of things like that happen here that would be in my community where I would be noticing these things. It's always national news, and it's always national news like when it first happens and then it trails off and gets forgotten. And I'm grateful that I went back and I studied those things and learned those things, and I looked into each of those boys that it talked about. It's gonna make me cry just thinking about it all over again. But when the whole George Floyd thing happened, my employer was amazing. They gave all of us the day off for his funeral. So I sat and I watched it with my kids, and we watched some movies that people recommended that go over Black history, and that was really a turning point for me. So that was just when my eyes were opened and I was like, oh my gosh, I have been privileged enough that when these things are happening in the world, I look at it as a story and I'm so sad to see it happening, but it is out of my mind as soon as it's out of the news. And that is a privileged way to live, because Black people have to walk around with that fear all the time. They think about it all the time. They have to raise their children to be aware of that being a Black experience. And that is just so heartbreaking. So anyway, like I said, I talked about that a lot in Lemonade. I'm going to try not to repeat a lot of the same things. So anyway, yeah.
Acknowledged this feeling when she formally announced Black is King on her Instagram. Quote, "The events of 2020 have made this film's vision and message even more relevant as people across the world embark on a historic journey. We are all in search of safety and light. Many of us want change. I believe that when Black people tell our own stories, we can shift the axis of the world and tell our real history of generational wealth and richness of soul that are not told in our history books. With this visual album, I wanted to present elements of Black history and African tradition with a modern twist and universal message, and what it truly means to find your self-identity and build a legacy. I spent a lot of time exploring and absorbing the lessons of the past generations and the rich history of different African customs. I only hope that from watching, you leave feeling inspired to continue building a legacy that impacts the world in an immeasurable way. I pray that everyone sees the beauty and resilience of our people. This is a story of how the people left most broken have extraordinary gifts, unquote. And so as we begin our analysis,
That's so beautiful. I'm so excited that going forward I get to experience when she drops something new and she posts something to Instagram and everybody's freaking out. Like, I'm so grateful that going forward in my life I have that. I'm also so grateful for Beyonce's music and the way that she brought Black culture into it. It makes me really sad that the majority of white people are like, oh, her music is for Black people, it's not for me, because it's changed me in such a profound way, including, oh, hold on, my father is calling me.
this of Black is King, we keep in mind Beyonce's intention to move forward by looking backwards, to shift the axis of the world by reconnecting to the rich history of the Black diaspora, building a better future through the pride and life-sustaining energy that
I just realized I was in the middle of saying something when my dad called. I have no idea what I was talking about, so we're just gonna move on.
forever emanates from the motherland.
I feel like I'm not a king yet, but like I got potential for it. You feel me? But I'm not there yet, 100%. You feel me? Like I know I got the capabilities too, but sometimes I don't know how to navigate.
Black is King begins with a solid black screen, and we hear an unidentified Black man speaking about his unrealized potential as a king. This brief monologue encapsulates the entire overarching theme of the film. It positions kingship not as a ruler of a people group, but rather as the individual fulfillment of one's full potential, being the best, most complete, most empowered version of yourself. The film continues with its opening shot, an expansive bird's-eye view of the Nile River in Africa, surrounded by plush green trees and rolling hills. As the camera pushes in, we see a basket floating in the river, and later it'll be revealed that a baby is inside the basket. Various shots of this basket are interspersed with posed portraits of Black men, women, and children from different parts of the world. Throughout this sequence, we hear Mufasa from The Lion King, voiced by James Earl Jones.
Everything you see exists together in a delicate balance. You need to understand that balance and respect all the creatures. From the crawling ant to the leaping antelope. We are all connected in the great circle of life.
This narration binds the basket in the Nile and all the portraits of Black people we see in this introduction. They're all connected across time and space. Their journeys are both individual and collective, at once independent and interdependent, a grand tapestry wherein single threads weave together to create something beautiful, complex, and colorful.
To understand the balance, the circle of life, is to understand both the importance and responsibility of your individual contribution to the whole, as well as the humility required to accept your place in the grander tapestry. As for the basket in the Nile, this seems to be an allusion to the biblical story of Moses. As a baby, Moses floated down the Nile in an enclosed basket until he was found by the Egyptian Pharaoh's daughter. After finding him in the basket, Pharaoh's daughter adopted Moses and raised him in the palace as a member of the Egyptian royalty. This reference to Moses will be further developed later in the film, but here at the start, we recognize that by showing the basket floating down the river, Beyonce seems to be drawing our attention to the treacherous journey that led Moses, and by proxy, all Black children to eventually be recognized as royalty. Thus, within the context of the portraits we see of Black people from both Africa and America, a basket floating down a turbulent river seems to allude to the diasporic history of kidnapped Africans crossing the Middle Passage to their enslavement in the Americas and other parts of the world. This history will be alluded to throughout the film, a presence never explicitly shown or stated, but nevertheless understood. an omnipresence, always there just beneath the surface.
At the same time, the Nile River more generally holds deep historic and cultural significance to the continent of Africa. In ancient Egypt, the Nile was considered to be the holiest river because annual flooding of the Nile produced fertile soil, making life possible in an otherwise arid climate. In this way, the Nile River can be credited as the mother that gave birth to the Egyptian civilization.
That's really cool. I didn't know that about the Nile River. I don't know very much about like geography or history. I obviously learned it in school, but then I just haven't cared to know after that. It's never been something that people talk about or that like stays in your mind. And you know, when you don't talk about something or pay attention to it for a long time, you just forget. And I don't know very much about the world at all. I have so much learning to do.
Considering that Africa is the motherland that gave birth to all human life more generally, the symbolism of the basket in the Nile here at the film's start is potent. Representative of life, renewal, and rebirth, water will be a major motif that runs throughout Black is King, just as the Nile River runs throughout 11 countries in the African continent.
Continuing to establish this motif of water, the film continues with a sweeping aerial shot over the ocean to reveal Beyoncé standing on the shore, dressed in a gorgeous, flowing white gown by designer Wendy Nickel. Given that we just saw Baby in the basket in the Nile, this image of Beyoncé standing by a body of water calls to mind the daughter of Pharaoh.
I'm really happy that I did it this way and I watched The Black is King first and then I'm going back to this. I did it the opposite with Lemonade. Well, I did my very first reaction to Lemonade. That was like the first thing I did in my Beyonce journey. Like not first, but I think it was the second thing. Um, and that was before I decided to do everything chronologically. So it was technically my second time, but it's so different when you don't know anything about Beyonce or her music. Watching that, not knowing the songs, I don't even count it as watching it. But anyway, I loved doing it that way with Lemonade because it had the visual album. So as it was talking about everything, I could look at it and put it all together. But if I was just listening to this without having the visuals like that did, I think that it wouldn't make as much sense. It wouldn't be as impactful because as it says all of these things, I'm remembering seeing it when I was watching it. So I can see that visual in my head, if that makes sense. So I'm really glad I did it like this.
Who brought Moses into a royal African family. But more importantly, this opening shot of Beyoncé establishes her presence as a spirit guide or ancestor who exists outside the physical world and guides the protagonist on his journey through his life on Earth. She will take many forms over the course of the film, and specifically here in the opening shot, we might wonder if Beyoncé is embodying the Orisha Yemoja.
In the spiritual tradition called Ifa, which originated in the Yoruba culture of West Africa, ancestors who pass away after accomplishing extraordinary endeavors are recognized as divine beings known as Orisha. According to the oral literature, Orisha are spirits who were sent to earth by Oludumare, the supreme god who created all things. The supreme god sent the Orisha to earth so that the Orisha could guide humanity on how to live and be successful while on earth. Much like angels in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the Orisha are intermediates between the human world and the supernatural. Each Orisha has control over specific physical and metaphysical elements on Earth, and their sustained existence is dependent on personal devotion and ritual practice by humans. During these rituals, the Orisha mount their devotee and become manifest within their body. We've seen Beyoncé channel Orisha before, most notably as Oshun in both the visual album Lemonade and her 2017 Grammy performance. Here at the beginning of Black is King, it seems that Beyoncé is now channeling Yemoja, the Orisha of motherhood, oceans, lakes, streams, wells, and pregnant women. In the Ifa tradition, one calls on Yemoja to help with infertility, the pregnancy process, and childbirth. Yemoja has been linked to amniotic fluid because she too is very protective of her children. Yemoja's prominence rose in the Americas and the Caribbean as enslaved Africans called on Yemoja to relieve their suffering and provide comfort and hope. She is often associated with the moon and is typically depicted near water wearing blue or white. Fittingly here in the opening sequence, Beyoncé is wearing a white gown while standing next to the ocean.
I love this. I love just how much symbolism there is in Black culture as a whole and how much, like, they have different things that they, I don't know how to explain this. Like, that, like having something that they call on for help, or like reaching back, or like calling on their ancestors, or knowing their ancestors are supporting them, or different, I can't think of the freaking word, but what they were just describing, whatever word describes that, I can't think of it.
Bless the body, born celestial, beautiful and dark matter. Black is the color of my true love's skin. Coils in hair, catching centuries of prayers, spread through smoke.
We join Beyonce on the beach shore where she now holds a newborn baby in her arms, presumably after drawing it from the water. This is in line with Yamoja being the Orisha of childbirth. She blesses the child, specifically its black body, which she describes as celestial and likens to dark matter, making clear this child was a gift from the universe itself.
That's the word I was trying to think of, the Orisha. That's how you describe different ones. It's like gods, right? Like, I don't know very much about any of the gods, like Zeus and all that, and I know that these are different, and it's a whole different culture, different thing, but like that type of thing. I think it's very cool, and I don't have anything like that in my life.
Beyonce carries the child along the beach before kneeling in front of two black priests dressed in white. These priests gently swing gold censers that hang from chains. A censer is a small metal vessel that's used to burn incense in numerous spiritual traditions around the world. The smoke that emits from a censer is often used to mark an object or person as holy. Within the Jewish and Christian traditions, the smoke from censers also symbolize prayers rising up to heaven from those who are living and departed. This connection between smoke, prayer, and holy people is reflected in Beyonce's voiceover. Precisely when the priest waved the censers over the baby, she says, "Coils and hair catching centuries of prayers spread through smoke." The use of the word centuries reveals that these prayers come from the baby's parents as well as his ancestors.
You are welcome to come home to yourself. Let black be synonymous with glory.
As we hear Beyonce continue to speak, we pan up on the legs of a man walking on the shores of the beach, his entire body painted blue.
I also love that, her saying that black is synonymous with glory, like something that just makes black so beautiful. Like black is king is the perfect name for it, because that's really what she's doing. She's making it so that it's empowering and it's beautiful, and you should love your skin, and I love it so much.
Blue. This is 22-year-old Nigerian dancer and musician Stephen Poppy Ojo. Ojo is painted in a blue-green tone called haint blue. This color of paint can be traced back to the enslaved people called the Gullah Geechee.
When I was watching this first time, I wanted to know what that paint meant, so I'm really happy they're talking about
Gullah
it.
Geechee lived on the coast of southern states like Florida, South Carolina, and Georgia in the coastal plains and sea islands. As a result of being somewhat isolated, the Gullah Geechee were able to preserve some of the traditions of the countries from which they were stolen, including the use of the native indigo plant to create dye. This color was believed to keep away haint, or spirits, thus the name haint blue. This protective attribute falls in line with the blue man's role in the film, which Ojo commented was, quote, Simba's subconscious to lead and guide him through the different stages of life. Our subconscious is a realm of our brain that controls all of the parts of us that we don't actively think about, like breathing, blinking, and our heart rate. It also stores all of our memories, experiences, and beliefs, a guiding system that takes in what's actively happening around us and helps determine how our conscious mind will react based on past experiences. As Ojo stated, Blue Man represents Simba's subconscious or guide in the physical realm. Though rather than Simba's own memories and experiences, it seems likely he's more a conduit for the memories and experiences of Simba's ancestors. Blue Man is a reminder of who he has been, who he is, and who he has the potential to be. This is why we see him introduced precisely when Beyonce says, "You are welcome to come home to yourself." Blue Man will appear throughout the film at critical times, making clear that, like our own subconscious mind, he is ever present even when we don't see him.
As Beyonce and Blue Man walk toward each other on the beach, we hear the opening moments of the song Bigger.
If you feel insignificant, you better think again. Better wake up because you're part of something way bigger. You're part of something way bigger. Not just a speck in the universe, not just some words in the Bible verse. You are the living word. You're part of something way bigger, bigger than you.
Bigger begins with Beyonce performing a sequence of affirmations, singing, "If you feel insignificant, you better think again. Better wake up because you're part of something way bigger." Within the context of Black is King, it appears Beyonce here addresses Black people all over the world who feel that their lives don't matter, perhaps due to Western culture's systematic devaluation of Black lives. Beyonce encourages these individuals to zoom out beyond themselves and recognize their value and significance to a much bigger whole. This idea of an individual deriving value from their interdependence within a larger group runs counter to Western culture's tendency to focus on an individual's independence from the larger group. Beyonce's words reflect a traditional African perspective, one that mirrors Mufasa's statement that we're all connected in the great circle of life. Beyonce continues to affirm the significance of Black individuals by singing, "Not just a speck in the universe, not just some words in a Bible verse, you are the living word." Beyonce here acknowledges that some Black individuals may feel insignificant because of a few words in a Bible verse. She's likely referring to the ways in which Western culture has historically taken words from the Bible out of context and used them to justify slavery, white supremacy, and other forms of dehumanization. One such example is found in the early 18th.
No way. People, you twist the words of the Bible around to make it seem like slavery and stuff like that is okay. There is no way that if you believe the words on a Bible are from God, what? There's no way that they could believe that. If I was reading something and my interpretation of it meant that something like that was okay, it would make me question my entire religion. I'm not a religious person, so I don't know what in the Bible it says or where that's coming from. But I do know that if I read something that made me think that that's what it meant, I would never open it again. Because what? There's no way. If they believe in God and they believe that the words of the Bible come from God, right? Isn't that how it works? Isn't it like they have a vision? I don't know. It's been so long since I've learned about that stuff, but I just can't believe that they twist things. People are so evil and they just make everything mean what they want it to mean to make it them feel like they're a good person. Why don't you just be a good person? Love other people. That's how I choose to live. Like, I love and respect other people. I love and respect other people's choices. I just don't understand how people are so one track minded. Like, I'm kind of a little bit upset now, right now, not about this, but when my dad just barely called. He said he was looking at my daughter's birthday list and he said that so one of my daughters, he was like, hers list made sense to me. Like, this is practical. This is what I want. But like the other list didn't make any sense to me. And I kept looking at it like, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. And it's literally just stuff to decorate her room. It's like signs on the, so there's like a speed limit sign and there's one that says like music that's like a license plate put together differently. And they're just different. It's just not his style. And for him to say that that's what he felt, so he's like, I just went with the comforter because that's at least needed. And I'm just like, why are you so judgmental that you have to judge how she wants to do her room? It's literally just like, it's not like she's asking for things that are like drug related. It's just decoration. She wants a music room. Like the coat hangers, like guitar, like I don't know what they're called, like the neck of the guitar, but not the whole thing. It's cut off, so it's just the end of it and the strings, and then it's a coat hanger. It's super cute, and music is her life, and that's what she wants it to be. And it's just like, I can't stand people who just are not open to what that other people can be different. Other people can like different things, and it's okay, and it's not a bad thing. Anyway, I'm upset that he just said that because it makes me feel like he's judging my daughter and her what she likes, and it ticks me off. So anyway, I'm mad right now.
Hundreds, when white Protestant Christians in the South began to appropriate the biblical story of Ham by making the unsubstantiated claim that Black people were the cursed descendants of Ham and white Europeans are the descendants of Noah's favored sons. This blatant misuse of a Bible verse thus became one of the primary arguments that white Christians in the South used to justify enslaving Black Africans prior to the Civil War. Beyonce works to dismantle these kinds of falsified claims by stating that you are the living word. Biblically speaking, the phrase living word is a direct reference to Jesus. Most notably, the Gospel according to John opens by saying, quote, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God at the beginning." Jesus, as the Word of God, represents his role as the living incarnation of the message that God intended to communicate through the Bible, a message historically distorted by those who seek to amass wealth and power. Meanwhile, Jesus, as the Son of God, represents his authority and integrity to rule as a king who embodies God's perfection. And so by saying that Black children are the living word, Beyonce asserts that Black people are not the misconstrued interpretations of the Bible. Rather, they are the royal children of God.
Something way bigger, bigger than you, bigger than we, bigger than the picture they framed us to see. But now we see it, and it ain't no secret. No, understand the truth about that question in your soul. Look up, don't look down, then watch the answers unfold. Life is your birthright, they hit that in the fine print. Take the pen and rewrite it. Step out your estimate.
As Bigger continues, we get subtle hints at the specific reasons why some might feel insignificant and unworthy. Beyonce sings, "Bigger than you, bigger than we, bigger than the picture they framed us to see." Later she sings, "Life is your birthright, they hid that in the fine print. Take the pen and rewrite it." In both lines, Beyonce speaks of an unidentified they who makes others feel small and hides their right to live in the fine print, obscuring it from plain sight. Although it will never be stated outright in the film, this unidentified source of oppression surely refers to the Western world's myriad of systems of oppression placed on people of darker skin tones throughout history. In the United States specifically, this includes slavery, Jim Crow segregation, redlining, mass incarceration, police brutality, the pay gap, and a litany of other systems that work in concert with one another for its ultimate goal. It's in these ways that they have tried to erase who we truly are, erase the memories and legacy of our cultures, and erase our ability to find our way back home, back to ourselves. During the process, they have also attempted to change the narrative, making it seem that being discriminated against was our destiny. The idea of race was created by them and rooted in fiction in order to establish themselves as superior. They have told Black people for centuries that our genetics made us unintelligent, uncivilized, unfit, unworthy of respect, and unworthy of existence. Over time, after everything had been stolen from us, our memory and our reality become an amalgamation of falsehoods. The system works to maintain.
That just reminded me. So on the same side of living in Utah, and it's mostly white, I haven't experienced like those sad things. I also haven't experienced racism, like not really, because there's not a lot of people here to be racist against. And like my kids are brown, my ex-husband is from Venezuela, so I've seen it through them. I've experienced it that way. I talk about that in the Lemonade Dissect podcast episodes. But the thing for me that it makes me realize is by not experiencing racism, I don't realize how bad it really is for other people. And I have only had one experience that was really bad from someone who I didn't know very well, and I was dating him, and I went to go visit him. And I found out that he was extremely racist, like mind-blowingly. But he was like that, like their blood is dirty, and he said something about how like he was talking about, so okay, I'm just gonna say, even though I've already said it before, I'll try to make it quick. So he was talking about that he had seen me. He's like, I saw those pictures of you that you're hanging out with that Black girl. My best friend is Black, and that's who he was talking about. And he said that about her, and I was just like, yeah, and he's just like, well, there's something wrong with it. And I said something like alluding to the fact that he was being racist, and he was like, no, I'm not racist. It's just that I just think that in relationships, it should be like the blood should be separated, because the more that people are in relationships with people who aren't white, it's making our blood dirty. I My jaw dropped through the floor. I could not believe. Later that night, he was wanting some water and he was gonna go down because we were staying in a hotel. He was gonna go down and buy a water bottle. And I was like, "There's cups right here." He was like, "I don't know if Edward has drank out of that." I was too scared to say anything because I'm at a hotel in a different state with this man. He moved after like our second date, so I had only spent 2 days with him, and this was right after my divorce. You guys, I made horrible decisions, but so I went to go visit him. So I didn't even know him very well, and then this is scary. His thought process is scary. So I didn't say anything. I just like stared at him like, oh my gosh, so like I just wanted the heck out of there, but I couldn't go back home right at that moment. So I stayed that night. The next morning I got up and immediately left and drove home, and I sobbed the entire 4-hour drive home. I could not believe that that kind of hate existed in the world. People with that thought process, like I thought that only existed like back with the KKK, and I thought the KKK was hundreds of years ago. I learned all of this watching Lemonade. Everything is not as far back as I thought. I'm telling you, that Dissect podcast made such a huge impact on me. I could not believe, because in my mind everything was so far away. We were so much better, and I'm just learning more and more how not far away we are, especially the president situation. I just can't believe the way that so many people in this world behave and think and act and just don't love other people just for being who they are. Anyway, I just
maintain those falsehoods, and you try to just survive. Surviving in a system designed for your destruction. The line, "life is your birthright," they hid that in the fine print, is a reminder to us all, with life comes our right to live freely and equally. Our existence is not a political statement. It is our right.
yes.
Life is your birthright, they hit that in the fine print. Take the pen and rewrite it. Step out your estimate. Step in your essence and know that you're excellent. Rise.
I love that. Our life is not a political statement. I love that because everything that Beyonce does ever since Lemonade, when her music has turned more meaningful and black focused, and everybody made it so political and such a big deal. And it's like, that's who she is. That's like a huge part of her identity. And she is trying to help other people love them for being exactly who they are. And that has to be a political statement. That has to be something negative. Be so for real. It's beautiful.
Throughout the first half of Bigger, we continue to see Beyonce dressed in white on the beach. At one point, she takes the baby she's holding to a group of 3 women also wearing white. 2 of the women also hold babies, while the other holds a large bowl. This bowl is made from calabash gourds, which are large, non-edible fruits native to Africa. These gourds are split in half, hollowed out, dried, and used as musical instruments or utensils, like the bowl we see the woman holding on the beach. When we first saw the blue man, he was actually holding the same calabash bowl, perhaps signifying it as an ancestral heirloom. Beyonce and the other women on the beach dip their hands into the bowl, which is filled with water, and wipe the water over the babies in a ritual that seems akin to a baptism, some kind of blessing or symbolic cleansing. Keeping in line with Beyonce's depiction of Yemoja, this ceremony might allude to practices by Yemoja priestesses. For example, at the annual Yemoja festival in Nigeria, Yemoja priestesses use a calabash to transport a substance from the spiritual realm, which takes the form of water. This water is said to be the concentrated powers of the Orisha and is used to revitalize the Oba, or king, and restore his right to rule. Andrew Apter, who observed this festival 2 years in a row, said of this climactic ceremony, quote, "At no other time during the festival is female power so explicitly associated with kingship," unquote.
This all sounds very similar to the water-filled calabash, the priestesses in white, Beyonce's depiction of Yemoja, and the emphasis on kingship we see in this ocean shore scene. It seems clear that these babies are being anointed kings and queens at birth, tying to the film's premise that kingship is inside us since the day we were born.
Never lose, we are winners. I'll be the root, you be the tree. That's on the fruit that was given to me. Legacy. We're part of something way bigger.
As Bigger continues, Beyonce sings of being the roots to her children's tree, and it's at this moment that we are introduced to a new setting. We see Beyonce dressed in blue with her daughter Blue Ivy sitting near a waterfall together. This is Havasu Falls, located in the Grand Canyon on the native land of the Havasupai tribe. Earlier in the song, Beyonce sung.
That's not far from me. I'm driving past the Grand Canyon to go to Vegas. I wish it wasn't like so far out of the way. I would love to go if it's somewhere that you could go visit. I would love to go see that, but it's too far out of the way.
The Spirit is teaching. No, I'm not just preaching. I'm taking my own advice. Now seeing Blue Ivy exemplifies that Beyonce is quite literally taking her own advice, applying the message in bigger to her personal life. Blue is Beyonce's first child in the continuation of her familial legacy. She's calling on ancestors, community, and spirits like Yemoja for the resources needed to pass on life lessons. Hence, we get the lines, I'll be the roots, you be the tree, pass on the fruits that were given to me, legacy. Both times Beyonce sings legacy, we see a child, Blue, or the baby she's holding on the beach. Despite the fictional archetypal stories centered around Simba about to unfold over Black is King, Beyonce is making clear that the lessons in the film are universal, ones that she applies in her own life, and ones that we can apply in ours if we so choose.
You're part of something way bigger.
Beyonce smiles at the baby in her arms as the music fades out and the scene cuts to black. We're then transported from this ethereal baptism scene to a village surrounded by red clay earth and vibrant green leaves on trees. The camera zooms in toward a grandiose beehive-shaped hut, embellished with cattle horns topping the surrounding wooden gate. Two men wearing leopard-printed suits stand guard on both sides of the entrance, with a royal lion crest hanging above the doorway.
This is a film set called the Shakaland Cultural Village, located in the South African province of KwaZulu-Natal. The Shakaland Cultural Village set mimics a kraal, or a traditional village of the Zulu tribe. This set was originally used to film Shaka Zulu, a 1986 television series that centered on the legendary 19th century Zulu king, Shaka. Shaka's 19th century reign united many disparate clans as one Zulu nation, and he created a powerful army that served as a formidable opponent to British invaders. Today, the Zulu people number close to 11 million, the largest ethnic group of South Africa.
Inside this Zulu-inspired dwelling, we see the royal family surrounding King Mufasa seated on his throne, a royal lion crest behind him. Seated beside him are his daughter, his wife, and young Simba, aged around 8 years old. Mufasa and Simba here are adorned with leopard pelts, a symbol of royalty in Zulu culture. This is our first view of our protagonist Simba in the physical world, and we immediately come to see his own role within the circle of life as the heir to his father's throne. As we get this glimpse of Simba's royal family and kingdom, Beyonce continues to address the young prince.
History is your future. One day you will meet yourself back where you started, but stronger.
Beyonce tells Simba that history is your future. When she says this, we see Mufasa on screen, meaning that Simba will one day take up the legacy of his father and his ancestors by one day leading his people as king. Simba must understand his own history and the legacy he inherits in order to perpetuate the glory of his people into the future.
Inasmuch as Simba's journey serves as an archetype for her Black audience, the message, history is your future, may also serve as a reminder of the rich history of people across Africa and the diaspora. We recall Beyonce's own words about her intentions for the film, quote, "I believe that when Black people tell our own stories, we can shift the axis of the world and tell our real history of generational wealth and richness of soul that are not told in our history books." And so this message to Simba doubles as a message to her Black audience to understand the legacy and spiritual power for all descendants of people from the African continent. Beyonce continues, "One day you'll meet yourself back where you started, but stronger." Again, we're reminded here of the circle of life. foreshadowing Simba's journey of leaving the kingdom and abandoning his role as king, only to return more hardened, mature, and with a better understanding of the balance required to rule as king. But there's also allusions to reincarnation here. According to writer Kwesi Jones, many African religions, quote, tend to view life not as a linear biological process wherein a person is born and then dies, but rather as a cyclical process wherein death is but a rebirth beginning life again. Yoruba religious philosophy in particular believes that every living person contains the souls of their previous lives. With each new reincarnation, they come back wiser and with the lessons learned from previous life cycles, which is what Beyonce means by, one day you will meet yourself back where you started, but stronger.
As the film continues inside the hut, we see Simba facing an older woman. The woman, who's played by the late South African actor and icon Mary Twala, wears white beads that cover her head and end with red beads just above her face. These beads seem to designate the woman as a priestess within the African spiritual tradition, and her role seems to be the film's version of Rafiki from The Lion King. The priestess dips her fingers in a white clay and marks Simba on his forehead and face. Face and body paint in traditional African cultures are typically made out of clay and combined with dried flowers and plants to create different colors. Each color can convey different meanings depending on the culture. Within the Ifa tradition, the color white symbolizes life, renewal, and connection to the spiritual world. As such, practitioners of Ifa often wear white to various ritual ceremonies. Most notably, during the initiation ceremony, which formally connects a person to their guardian Orisha, the person who is initiating will wear all white clothing and have their face covered in white face paint by the Orisha priest. These Ifa practices seem to have been a key inspiration for the beach scene in which everyone is dressed in white.
As Simba is anointed with the white body paint, the camera zeroes in on a painting.
That's really cool. I did not know that body paint was made out of clay and colored with flowers. How beautiful is that? I feel like the colors, like each of them means something, but having it just be paint that means something is not as like powerful, I feel, as clay, like stuff from the earth and like the flowers. Like I feel like the energy of that and putting that on you is way more meaningful than just body paint. That's really cool.
Hanging on the wall behind them. In the painting, Beyonce is holding baby Simba while wearing the same white dress that she wore when she depicted herself as Yemoja. The painting shows Beyonce wearing a crown of pointed light rays that form a halo above her head as she holds an infant in her arms. Within the context of Christian artwork, the image of a woman holding a baby is typically used to depict the Virgin Mary holding Jesus. It's also interesting to note that the halo that crowns Beyonce's head in the portrait closely resembles the halo that Beyonce wore during her 2017 Grammy performance. There, Beyonce wore a gold dress and a yellow cape that many interpreted as the depiction of Oshun, the Orisha of rivers. The dress also revealed Beyonce's belly, which at the time was 20 weeks pointed light rays that form a halo.
I missed which award show it was, so I want to go back.
Simba on his forehead and face. Tradition, the color white symbolizing for the beach scene in which everyone is dressed.
Within the context of Christian artwork, the image of a woman holding a baby is typically used to depict the Virgin Mary holding Jesus. It's also interesting to note that the halo that crowns Beyonce's head in the portrait closely resembles the halo that Beyonce wore during her 2017 Grammy performance. There, Beyonce wore a gold dress and a yellow cape that many interpreted as the depiction of Oshun, the Orisha of rivers.
I remember that. She looked beautiful, and I did hear that it was representing Ocean.
The dress also revealed Beyonce's belly, which at the time was 20 weeks pregnant with Beyonce's twins, Sir and Rumi Carter. At one point in the performance, we see two versions of Beyonce on stage, one wearing an Oshun outfit and the other wearing a more circular halo and a scarf over her head, which more closely resembles depictions of the Virgin Mary. This well-established pattern of blending images of the Virgin Mary with female Orisha like Oshun and Yemoja is akin to the blending of Christianity and Ifa that occurred in the African diaspora after Yoruba people were enslaved and brought to the Western Hemisphere. This synchronization between Christianity and Ifa primarily occurred in the Roman Catholic areas of South America and the Caribbean, where Africans were forced to convert to Western Catholicism. Rather than giving up Ifa practices and beliefs, Yoruba people in these areas developed new spiritual traditions such as Santeria in Cuba, Candomblé in Brazil, and Voodoo in Haiti, all of which use various Christian figures as stand-ins for the Orisha. Just as we saw Beyonce possibly representing both the Pharaoh's daughter in the Moses story and the Orisha Yemoja in the film's opening scene, the portrait of Beyonce as a Black mother of God makes it clear that Black is King will blend Beyonce's Christian roots with her renewed connection to the African spirituality she's expressed in her recent art. This fusion follows in the footsteps of the diaspora Ifa traditions, which incorporated elements of Christianity into practices that are rooted in African spirituality.
From the scene of the priest.
This is so beautiful. I love the way she connects to her roots. I love all of this. It honestly makes me like feel like something's missing for me. Like I wish that I had all of these things and culture and different things like Oshun to have meaning behind something. I just feel like I'm such a deep person, and I feel like I identify more with like the Black culture and Black people, and I just feel like they're so much more accepting and they're beautiful. And I think that a big part of that is that they have been through hard things, and I have been through hard things. And I think going through things that are so painful, you don't even know if you're going to survive it, and then coming out like an incredible person from that, in spite of all of those things that have happened to you, I think that that changes a person into being more compassionate, more like deep when you're talking to people. They care more about what you have to say, and they speak things so beautifully. Whereas I feel like the people, and this could just be Utah, but the people here that are white, I just think that they are so privileged. They haven't had to deal with anything. And I don't just mean race privilege, like financially. There was a time when I was with my brother, we were driving across the country, we were going to a concert, and he was talking about there was some kind of flood or maybe a hurricane. There was something where people weren't evacuating and going. He was like, I just don't understand why they were just like, all you have to do is get in your car and drive and go to a different state. And I'm like, it's not that simple for people. Like for me, I couldn't just do that. I couldn't just on the whim go get a hotel, use all that gas money, drive my car. Like, is my car even good enough to make it that far? Like, that's all stuff that I've had to experience. And when I told him, I'm like, not everyone can just do that. Not everyone has the money. And he's like, well, yeah, but that's what credit cards are for. You can just use your credit card. And I'm just like, are you really that blind? Like, you don't know that not everybody has credit cards. Some people who have them maxed out constantly because they're trying to survive. And he's never had to experience any of that. And that was the first time when I realized, like, even within my own family, our levels of privilege are completely different. And I just feel like that was like eye-opening for me too, because I feel like that's how so many people here are. They're so privileged in so many ways. And I think that that's why I just like I want to get out of here and get somewhere more diverse. And that's what Chicago draws me in so much, because I feel like the people are more like me and how they think and how they feel and how they interact with other people and care about other people. And I'm so sick of the privilege here. And I didn't realize that it was privilege until this journey has made me realize that, and realize how much more I connect with people who have had to experience hard things, and it's just not here. So anyway, I keep going off on tangents.
Just painting Simba's face. We return again to the beach shore to find Beyonce painting Simba's face in the same manner the priestess did. Simba is no longer a baby, but the same age he was in the previous scene in the hut. The surrealist effect of this abrupt change in age again makes clear this beach scene is depicting some spiritual realm. Moreover, as a priest who connects humans to the spiritual realm, Rafiki's actions in the physical realm are mirrored by Beyonce's corresponding actions in the spiritual realm. As Simba receives this royal anointing, Bigger resumes with the bridge.
Let love be the water I pour into you and you pour into me. There ain't no drought here. Bloom into our actual powers. I'll be a sanctuary.
In line with channeling Emoja, Beyonce likens the power of love to life-giving water that flows between people. further establishing the water motif. She emphasizes the interdependence of family or members of a community, singing, "I pour into you and you pour into me." It implies a balance and symbiosis among all people, male and female, young and old, mother and child. These are just a few of the elements that make up the delicate balance of relationships that Mufasa describes in the film's opening moments. It's through the respect of these mutual sustaining relationships that each person in a community develops their own power.
To me, there ain't no drought here, blooming to our actual powers. I'll be a sanctuary, you just don't know it yet. You just don't know it yet. No matter how hard it gets, you got my blood in you, and you're gonna rise.
The vocals, oh my gosh, I can't wait to listen to this album again. It's so good.
Beyonce continues to sing to Simba, "I'll be your sanctuary. You just don't know it yet," further cementing her role in Simba's life as a guide who serves as a sanctuary or place of refuge no matter where he is on his journey. Visually, Bigger ends with Beyonce guiding a young Simba along the beach at twilight, showing him the emerging stars and preparing him for his journey. These stars, like Beyonce herself, will serve as his sanctuary, an ever-present light that will always show him his way back home. More on that right after the break. Welcome back to Dissect. Before the break, we discussed Black is King's opening song, Bigger, which introduced Beyonce as a guide to the young Prince Simba as he discovers his larger purpose in the universe. Bigger ends with Beyonce leading young Simba along the moonlit beach with a procession of women in white following them. As they look upwards to the night sky,
I remember that part. It's so beautiful. These visuals are so beautiful.
We once again hear Beyonce's words of guidance to Simba.
A journey is a gift. Something to offer at the door to the rooms of your mind. This is how we journey far and can still always find something like home.
Simba will soon embark on a hero's journey that will transform him. Beyonce encourages the boy to see the difficulties of this journey not as something to fear, but rather a gift to learn from. This idea that a difficult journey is a gift from God is a central idea of the film. Its significance is highlighted by Beyonce's official album from the Lion King film.
I love how it says that, saying that the journey, the difficult journey, is a gift because you learn from it and you grow. And that's exactly what I mean by people who are privileged. They haven't gone through that, so they don't you up level by going through that stuff. You become more aware, you become more knowledgeable, you become a better person every single time you go through something really hard and get through it. And it's so hard going through those things, but looking back, I would not change one single thing that I've experienced or gone through because I would not be who I am without all of that. And I love how it said that because that's exactly what it is. It's
film titled The Gift, and the fact that Nala, the name of Simba's childhood friend and eventual wife, voiced by Beyonce, means gift in Swahili. As the camera pans upward toward the immense full moon overlooking them, Beyonce continues, "This is how we journey, far, and can still always find something like home." The moon is a symbol that will recur throughout the film, serving as a constant reminder of the sense of home Simba carries within himself, no matter how far he travels. The moon is also associated with Yamoja, giving a physical representation of the constant aid and protection she offers. We also observe the moon's circular shape, a visual symbol of the prominent circle of life theme, and a reminder of our eventual return to the other side and reunion with our ancestors after our journeys on Earth reach their end.
Beyonce's words and the moon visual might also hold a deeper significance in the historical context of the diaspora. For people of African descent whose ancestors were kidnapped and sold into slavery, there may be a sense of fragmented lineage or disconnect from their family's homeland. Many are unable to trace their roots to their original country or tribe of origin. When Beyonce says, "This is how we journey far and can still find something like home," She offers the remainder of the film as a blueprint for her audience that are descendants of the African diaspora to celebrate their own beauty and power through connection to their ancestors, pride in their traditions, and rediscovering the stories of their people. By remembering the ancestors and the past that colonizers suppressed, it can be possible to begin to recover what had been lost.
As the camera moves upward into the star-filled night sky, Beyonce begins to tell Simba the stories of his history and his people.
The great kings were here long before us. Ancient masters of celestial lore.
We zero in on the night sky to see a supernova or an exploding star. From this stardust emerges the image of three great kings of the past, born from the universe itself. They wear pink grass skirts and wooden masks topped with a double-barred cross. These men are members of the Dogon tribe of Mali in West Africa, history's true masters of celestial lore. The Dogon people are renowned for their knowledge of the cosmos, including the reported discovery of the white dwarf star Sirius B in approximately 3200 BC. This was an incredible feat, as Sirius B is invisible to the naked eye and wasn't observed via telescope until 1862. By including the Dogon and highlighting their astronomical feats, Beyonce grounds the film in the celebration of real historical achievements of African people.
The Dogon men featured here wear masks called Kanaga masks. Kanaga masks include a vertical wooden beam that extend from the top of one's head and two parallel horizontal beams intersecting to form a double-barred cross. This figure represents the Dogon's creator being Amma, with the crossbars forming his arms and legs. The crossbars also symbolize the differentiation between sky and earth. These masks are typically worn in a ritual called Dama, in which the souls of the deceased are transported into heaven. Donning the mask and dancing in this ritual is a rite of passage for Dogon boys. Once they participate in this ceremony, they can be considered men. And so this image of powerful Dogon men serves as an invitation to Simba's own coming of age into manhood.
Following the sequence, we transition back to Simba's earthly kingdom, where Mufasa and Simba also walk under the night sky.
Let me tell you something my father told me. Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars.
Mufasa cites his own father's words and passes them down to Simba. Given that they're currently beneath a starry sky, we assume Mufasa's father is currently looking down upon them from those stars. The parallels between the three generations represented in this scene are alluded to as we see Simba, Mufasa, and the stars in the sky all reflected in a large pool of water, creating a mirror image, a visual representation of how they are each reflections of each other. We then see Mufasa present young Simba with a chess piece. It's made of gold and topped with a crown, signifying it as the king piece. Mufasa is quite literally passing the kingship from himself to his son. The king chess piece will become a recurring motif throughout Black is King, as will the game of chess more generally.
I love that too. Looking at your ancestors and seeing like your reflection of each other and they are within you and all of those things is so beautiful. I just don't have any kind of connection like that at all. I look like my mom and that's it. I don't feel like any part of me of who I am is even going just to my parents. I feel like I'm so different from them and it's very like I wouldn't say we have a bad I love my parents. They're great people. They don't make me feel great about myself. And not intentionally, it's just differences. We've gone through different things, we've experienced different things, and I just don't feel that. I don't like my grandparents, I love them. They've passed and I miss them so much, but I feel like they're with me for sure, but I don't feel like there's part of them in me. And that sounds so beautiful to me to connect to your ancestors in that way and want to know them. My mom did make me a book of like all of my ancestors and stuff, so I have like pictures of all of them and like stories about them, but it's hard to look through. It's old and I just don't connect to them. I don't want to say I don't care about them, but really they didn't impact my life. And I feel like for the way that Beyonce is talking about this is because ancestors really did pave the way for what you experience today and how you live and how strong you are, and like all of these things that all intertwine together. And I don't have that experience. I feel alone most of the time. That sucks.
While we'll be able to get into the significance of the chess symbolism in later episodes, it's interesting at this juncture to consider the role of the king in chess. The value of the king piece is infinite because a game of chess is won or lost when a king piece is captured. But in terms of its capabilities and mobility,
Mm. Wow, that's really, I mean, it's not cool. That's horrible that that had to be a thing, but it's cool that like to learn these things and to know that there was people in the houses trying to protect the other people going through, and just like the good in the world, I feel like is what that represents. I love this. They do a really good job on this podcast. I need to go and see like what else they do. I looked before when I was doing this, but I don't remember. But I love that. Okay, that's it for today. So I'm gonna come back and watch part 2 in a bit, just like every other reaction. I'm gonna come back to this. So I don't know that I'll get through Black is King before the concert, but everything else I'm gonna finish before the concert. So thank you for listening to the podcast with me, and I will talk to you soon.